So, last month, you may have heard that Warner Brothers announced they'd be rebooting Harry Potter, a new cast recovering the books through a 7-season big-budget TV show, and I felt nothing about this. I wasn't excited to see this world again, I wasn't upset because a remake couldn't possibly live up to the original. I felt nothing. I read the story and I scrolled on to the next one, and that's when I knew that Harry Potter was dead to me. I already hadn't really bothered with the Fantastic Beasts movies, I steered clear of Hogwarts Legacy for reasons we'll get into, but this felt somehow more definitive to me. Master has given Kyle a sock, and Kyle is free. I think just by looking at me, it goes without saying that I was a massive Harry Potter fan as a kid. Like basically everyone else my age, it was a massive part of my childhood. I'm talking going out and picking up a stick and pretending I'm casting spells in Vestige, you know? I honestly don't remember the details of this, but when I first came to Canada, some of my classmates were making like a Harry Potter fan film, and because I was the closest to English they knew and also looked like this, I got the part. I wish I still had that footage, but I think it's been lost to time. The point is, I was in deep, man. I can't even tell you how excited I would have been by Hogwarts Legacy. It would have been a dream come true game for me. But now, I haven't even considered buying it, and at this point I probably never will. There are two types of people watching this video. Most of you know what it's about, why this has happened to me, and the rest of you, I guess, live in blissful ignorance of the things that happen here on the internet. We're talking about J.K. Rowling, the author and matriarch of the Harry Potter series, who for the last 5 years or so now has fully committed herself to the cause of transphobia. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh, a rich celebrity with problematic views? Shocker. Sure, it sucks, but that doesn't mean it should ruin the thing she's made for all time. Maybe so. Maybe. Just maybe. That's why I'm making this video. Let's clarify something here. When I say J.K. Rowling is a transphobe, what you're probably picturing is something along the lines of Chris Pratt. A few years ago there was a minor controversy because it came out that Chris Pratt was a member of a very anti-gay church, and generally he had said some things that inferred he was a bit of a Tory. That sucks, you say, and then you move on with your life. This kind of thing happens all the time. Nobody is perfect, all of your faves are problematic. It's generally okay to accept that someone believes some crappy things while still enjoying the things they've made. J.K. Rowling did not just make some slightly offensive tweets. J.K. Rowling is one of the most famous and most prolific anti-trans activists in the world. It started with a couple of offensive tweets, but she doubled down and has continued to double down and down again into a deep spiral of hatred. ContraPoints has made 2 videos documenting J.K. Rowling's descent into full-blown bigotry, which I highly recommend, but let me just give you some highlights. She has repeatedly used her platform to spread bad science about trans people, pushing the false idea that there is a major problem with detransitioning with massively inflated and deceptive studies. And she also posted this thing about how blood is gendered. Okay, look, I'm not a hematologist, but as far as I can tell, that's not true. The study does seem to indicate there are slightly more risks to the success of a blood transfusion if the donor has been pregnant before, but that's not the same thing, and I'm talking about a difference of a 3% in the success rate. It's probably bullshit, is what I'm saying. On a podcast called The Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling, she recently compared trans people to Death Eaters, the explicitly genocidal fascists led by an evil snake man.
The Death Eaters claimed we have been made to live in secret, and now is our time. And any who stand in our way must be destroyed. If you disagree with us, you must die. They demonized and dehumanized those who were not like them. I am fighting what I see as a powerful, insidious, misogynistic movement.
She's become a vocal supporter of Posey Parker, a loud and proud anti-trans activist who said some insane things like suggesting that men follow trans women into bathrooms with a gun. I wish I was making that up.
And men, for once, I'm talking to you. I'm talking about you dads who maybe carry, I think that's what you say. I'm so down with the American lingo. Maybe you carry, maybe you don't. Maybe you consider yourself a protector of women. Maybe you're that sort of man. Maybe you have a daughter or a mother or a wife. Maybe you have a sister. Maybe you just have some friends. Maybe you just think women are human and you don't need any absolute connection with them to feel compelled to protect us. I think you should start using women's toilets, men.
Yeah, And here's J.K. Rowling modelling one of her t-shirts. A t-shirt which reads, Nicola Sturgeon, Destroyer of Women's Rights. Nicola Sturgeon being the former First Minister of Scotland, and the women's rights being destroyed being a gender recognition bill that would make it slightly easier to change your legal name and gender identity. Truly malicious stuff. And not something that's, say, standard in many countries already with absolutely no problems. There's so much more. Almost every single one of her tweets is about this stuff. She spends days and days arguing with trans people about their own existence. She has fully made this a part of her public identity. She isn't just some celebrity with some dodgy beliefs. She's gone way beyond that, and that makes it very hard to ignore. But plenty of people manage it anyway. J.K. Rowling's transphobia isn't really the subject of this video. It's the catalyst of this video, sure, but the video's about Harry Potter. You see, J.K. Rowling's behaviour has sparked a lot of debate about Harry Potter. Is it still ethical to enjoy Harry Potter, to go and see the movies, to buy tickets to Wizarding World, to buy the big AAA budget games? Should or shouldn't we separate the art from the artist? The release of Hogwarts Legacy caused an absolute catastrophe online of constant back and forth of people's rights and willingness to play a game whose, well, legacy has been so thoroughly tainted. I personally side with the argument that you shouldn't buy the game, and I have my reasons for that, but historically I and other people have been hilariously ineffectual at convincing people why. I mean, after all, the game still sold yonks. At the time of making this video, it's the second biggest launch of the year. Clearly the franchise's connection to transphobia isn't a turn-off for most people. Here, let's go through all of the common arguments, shall we? One of the major strategies employed to try and convince people not to play the game or see the movies is monetary. Obviously, J.K. Rowling's involvement in a video game is minimal, but J.K. Rowling still maintains full ownership of the Harry Potter license, and so she gets royalties on every single Harry Potter branded thing that's sold, including games, movies, TV shows, Lego sets, and theme park tickets. The argument then is if you buy Harry Potter stuff, you're directly supporting a dangerous bigot. And yeah, that's just a true fact. But it's also completely unconvincing because J.K. Rowling is already a billionaire. It's similar to the idea of why people don't vote. What do my pennies matter in the grand scheme of things? She's not even going to notice a difference in her income. She's already one of the richest people in the world. Another common strategy is going back and repraising a lot of the things in the Harry Potter series that are actually a little bit weird, like the greedy goblin seemingly being based on dodgy Jewish stereotypes, or the one black guy in the whole series being named Kingsley Shacklebolt. And yeah, those things are in there. The book's approach to different cultures is kinda iffy sometimes, but that's also completely unconvincing to a hardcore Harry Potter fan, and I totally get why. I'm a Trekkie, I know a thing or two about confronting problematic aspects of your favourite media. It's easy and encouraged to acknowledge problems in a series while still enjoying it. Media that doesn't have issues like this is really rare. That doesn't mean you're bad for still liking it. In fact, you can very easily twist that logic to be about J.K. Rowling herself. It's possible to still enjoy her work while recognising the harmful views she expresses. Right? Separation of art and artist really is the big talking point here. I refuse to believe that everyone who bought Hogwarts Legacy is a transphobe who agrees with the things Rowling says and does. Most of them probably don't know about it at all. How would they know? A lot of her worst actions have been obfuscated by the idea that it's just inane Twitter drama and not, actual activism. Some people definitely are transphobes, and there was a little swell around the game and hate groups, but fuck those people, I'm not talking about them. In case it wasn't clear yet, if you're a transphobe, go away. This video isn't for you. The people who know about Rowling's transphobia are themselves not transphobes and can play the game totally without issue. Those are the people I'm interested in talking to.
So, I've had this video in mind for a while now. I originally intended to make it before Hogwarts Legacy came out. But here's the thing. I have a lot of friends who've been playing this game, and I knew they were going to be playing it, and I never said anything to them. And so then making a video where you imply that you've been judging them this whole time for it is maybe a social faux pas. This might be surprising given the subject of this video, but I'm actually extremely conflict averse and really, really bad at debate. I think I can be pretty convincing in these videos, but that's because I can write a structured argument quite well. I am terrible at convincing people in person. A common thing trans people will tell you is that you should call out transphobia wherever you see it, including your friends and family. If they misgender someone, you should call them out on it. And that is great advice. That is what you should do. But when you're actually sat doing something with your friends or family and something like this happens, you have to do the mental calculation if it's worth turning this into a 2-hour debate, completely ruining the mood of whatever you were actually doing, and if you're even able to convince them or not. And usually, that calculation doesn't work out. So, if you'll indulge me a second, YouTube. Hi, people in my life who are die-hard Harry Potter fans or couldn't resist the allure of Hogwarts Legacy. Yes, I have been silently judging you because I'm not brave enough to say it to your face. I know some of you probably didn't know the extent of Rowling's issues, and if you didn't, I hope I've eliminated that for you. But I know some of you definitely do, and just don't care. Consider this, the debate. We can continue this conversation in private if you want, but I won't be pushing this issue. This video is the best way I know to tell you my arguments. This is my piece. Deal with it whatever you will.
This is a tricky social situation to handle because the definitive feature of a lot of people is that they get very, very defensive when you talk about this. And I know I've trapped you there. I'm not defensive, he says defensively. So let me make one thing clear. I don't think you're a transphobe for continuing to enjoy Harry Potter, as definitive as I can be on what makes someone a transphobe or not. But the facts are the facts. If you buy Harry Potter things, you're supporting a bigot. Not just with money, but with relevance. J.K. Rowling's power comes from Harry Potter. She made it clear that she takes the continued success of the franchise as validation of the thing she's doing. The justifications for supporting the series anyway don't come from a place of truth or logic, they come from emotion. And it's an emotional reaction that I totally understand. There's a common meme in the Harry Potter fandom right now that Daniel Radcliffe wrote Harry Potter, a kind of separation of art and artist made manifest, because Daniel Radcliffe is by all accounts a very wholesome guy, who's done a lot of work with LGBT youth charities and has publicly denounced Rowling's views. The world would be much simpler if Daniel Radcliffe was the one who wrote Harry Potter. People make that joke because they don't want to give up Harry Potter. Harry Potter is a defining story for a lot of people. It was empowering, inspirational, it defined their childhoods. A lot of people, including a lot of trans people, have stories about how Harry's story resonated with them on a personal level and really helped them while they were growing up. And when someone says you're not allowed to like that thing anymore, of course you're going to get defensive. You're going to come up with any reason why it's still okay. And like I said, a lot of those arguments sound pretty convincing. My interest in Harry Potter was waning before all this started. I still enjoyed it. I've been to Wizarding World and it was probably the coolest theme park I've ever seen. But I definitely wasn't big into the fandom or anything. So for me, distancing myself from the series was pretty easy. But if I imagined something like this happening to Star Wars, I think I would have a seriously hard time dealing with that. I don't want to reveal to you the embarrassingly large amount of LEGO Star Wars sets I have surrounding me right now. For a lot of people, this is more than a brand, it's an identity, it's a part of who they are, and asking someone to give that up is seriously difficult. That's the danger of tying so much of yourself to a specific brand. It's why I make the very conscious effort with my own videos to vary the things I talk about, so that I don't get tied down to being a Star Trek YouTuber. But I am not immune. There are stories and franchises that are hugely important to me. If I had to give up LEGO, I'd have a mental breakdown. I'm long past making LEGO a part of my identity. But that could happen. It could come out that Niels B. Christensen here is a massive bigot, that he's like the head of the Danish KKK and uses LEGO funds to build their movement. I don't know anything about this guy. I understand where you're coming from, but I still think you should try. The money argument doesn't work. Trying to convince people that Harry Potter has always been bad actually doesn't work. These arguments just aren't strong enough to tarnish people's relationship with the franchise. So let me tell you the argument that convinced me, made by several trans people, but I'm specifically going to cite fellow Trekkie Jessie Gender. It's not about supporting J.K. Rowling, it's not about giving up Harry Potter, it's not about me, and it's not about you. It's about solidarity with the trans people who never wanted to be in this situation in the first place. Your contribution to J.K. Rowling means nothing in terms of giving her more power. It's true. But it's a signal to the trans person who sees it that you care more about your own entertainment than their dignity. If you knew that a shopkeeper was racist, you'd actually seen him turn a black guy away from his store because they don't serve his kind. Could you honestly keep shopping there? Maybe you could, but then you've lost the right to be mad when that black guy doesn't want to be your friend anymore. And even if you don't know any trans people, it's a signal to strangers that you don't care about their lives. I don't know if you follow this stuff that closely, but things are pretty fucking scary out there for trans people right now. Transphobia is on a massive backswing, and there's several US states that are currently making it illegal to provide gender-affirming care to minors, and if you think they're going to stop there, you're kidding yourself. Do you remember the gender recognition bill that Rowling was campaigning against? Well, it actually got passed in the Scottish Parliament. only to be rejected by the Tory government down in Westminster, using their veto power for the first time ever to block it. There's thousands of people out there, scared, alone, afraid for their future, and if all I have to do to make them feel a little bit less alone and a little bit less scared is literally nothing, that doesn't seem like a hard choice. Apathy is one of the most dangerous emotions. You should care about your fellow humans. It should matter to you more than your entertainment. Even if you don't know any trans people, you don't need a personal connection to care about it. Caring costs you nothing. You're not a transphobe for continuing to engage with Harry Potter. But you are supporting one, and you don't get to pretend you're an ally while you do it.
It's not my intention to talk over trans people. Trans people are not a monolith. There are plenty of trans people who disagree with me. I can tell you to take it from trans people directly and not from me, like this one. But most of you aren't going to click that card, and we both know it. It's okay, I don't click them either. They look very professional though, don't they? The fact is, there's more of us than there is of them. And so trans rights aren't going to happen magically. They're only going to happen if boring old cis people like us help make it happen. I know most people are not transphobic. I know most people just don't care. I can't make you care. People are suffering, people are dying, and it's so much easier to pretend you don't notice. But when you do that, you let the worst of us speak for you. Not buying Harry Potter stuff is not activism. I'm generally pretty skeptical of boycotts and if they actually do anything. I don't expect J.K. Rowling to go anywhere anytime soon. But at the very least, we can show that we care. We can do the bare minimum and not actively support the people trying to eradicate them. I'm sorry, but Harry Potter has been co-opted by a hate movement, and if you don't want to be seen to be part of that movement, then you should let it go.
Thank you for watching. I know this was a bit of a heavy one, but it's important to do those sometimes. And of course, a very special thank you to my patrons for supporting the things I do. If you'd like to see your name up here or get access to exclusive Patreon videos, then you can find the link in the description below, as well as a like, a comment, a share, and a subscribe. If you're looking for a trans-positive game to play, then I strongly recommend Tell Me Why. I made a video about it a few years ago, which you can find up here. And hey, one last chance, you should really watch this Jessie Gender video. It's right there, the video's over, you can click it now, you don't have any excuse. Come on, come on, come on.